Hey everyone, welcome to CineD's YouTube channel. My name is Graham Mailer Sheldon. Now, you may have heard that there is the potential for DJI to be completely banned in the United States. Now, there's a crazy amount of misinformation out there about this, and it's time to clear some of that up. We have all sorts of questions. Does DJI really represent a national security threat? Why is Congress attempting to pass this ban? What would the repercussions of a ban be for filmmakers and even for farmers? Let's dive in with the help of Chief Wayne Baker from DJI.
You're watching CineD, supported by B&H and CVP.
All right, welcome to the channel. We're joined by Chief Wayne Baker. Chief Baker is a 25-year veteran fire chief. Thank you for your service. And you're also a director of stakeholder engagement at DJI. Chief Baker, thank you so much for joining us here on the channel.
Thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. And I just real quick, I retired in 2019 from the fire department, yes, to come to DJI and carry on my mission of helping save lives and make the world a better place here at DJI through the use of our technology and our drones.
First, Chief Baker, maybe a good place to start is with what is HR 2864, the Countering CCP Drone Act. Now, I'll just go ahead and read right now sort of the top level of the legislation, but feel free to add on if you feel like I miss any of it. This bill requires the inclusion of telecommunications and video surveillance equipment or services produced or provided by DJI Technologies on the list of communications equipment or services determined by the FCC to pose an unacceptable risk to U.S. national security. And then they go on to mention that current law prohibits the use of federal funding available through specified FCC programs for purchasing or maintaining listed equipment or services. Now, that's directly from, congress.gov. But one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation with you is because I'm seeing an incredible amount of just sort of misinformation out there, and sort of the drone community, prosumers, hobbyists, professionals alike, about what this legislation means. So is there anything else you want to sort of add to that at the top line there?
Sure. It's a very challenging landscape we're seeing in U.S. Congress, where they're not just focusing on DJI, but really anything China related is becoming more and more despised by certain members of Congress, and it's unfortunate because it's a lot of isolationism, protectionism that growing up I saw during the 1980s as we focused on Japan and Japan technology back then, and I don't think it served our country very well back then, and I don't think it's doing that now.
I should also mention that I reached out to various sponsors of this legislation, and as of talking here with you, I do not have a response back. What do you think, other than sort of the isolationism that you mentioned, what do you think is behind the fear that some members of Congress seem to be having about this technology in general? And I want to debunk a few things here right off the bat. A few years back, I think it was around 2018, there was this story, that sort of internet thing that manifested that your technology was streaming data back to China. Now, I know many employees at DJI have since under oath said, no, that's not happening, as well as other third-party organizations. But do you think those kinds of things are maybe at some of the root of this?
I believe that's a lot of where the false information has been spread to members of Congress by various different people of interest that would benefit from the removal of DJI from the market. And again, it's unfortunate because it's people preying on those concerns with this false information that, as you mentioned, the concern on our technology, where we have always adhered to the strictest data security standards. We're not a data security company. We're a hardware tech company providing drones. So we don't store data to stream back, would require an end user wanting to do that, choosing to do that. we, as you mentioned, had multiple third party uh, inspections of our equipment and our software that have shown that we actually do adhere to those strict data security standards. We were for a while allowing users to even upload, if they chose to, their flight data that went to Amazon web servers here in the US. And, every time we were presented with a concern, we addressed it. And unfortunately, the goalpost keeps getting moved. It went from those concerns to, I've heard so many ridiculous claims that, such as we were sending a heart rate back to China, why? So there's so many false claims that have been spread out there that have, again, been proven to be false, even by the U.S. government. One case in particular was where the Department of Defense investigated our equipment and said that there were no data security risks, published a paper, and within a few days, that paper was retracted and denounced, unfortunately, because it wasn't fitting the political narrative that's out there.
Well, I guess stepping back for a moment, can you tell? The majority of people who are watching this are probably very aware of your hardware as it relates to film and television. But beyond film and TV, a lot of your products are used in sort of an enterprise setting, right? Can you just go through?
Absolutely.
You're a former fire chief, so how do all of these various use cases relate to your products?
Well, that's a great question, and bear with me a little bit on this because it's pretty interesting. DJI was created by our owner to really make his hobby of flying helicopters easier. He wanted a controller that could help make an RC helicopter fly easier. And so, developed this in the dorm room at college, and later on, created a drone company. And he was just making drones at the time that people could take, started with our Phantom line, and where you could take that and get a better perspective of the world, better pictures and video, from the sky that an average user could take on vacation. But a lot of enterprising people in a lot of industries, but for me, as you mentioned, in public safety as a firefighter, I immediately looked at this technology as it could help me with my duties of saving lives and protecting property. And we began utilizing these off-the-shelf consumer drones in ways that DJI never expected. One of them was when the Inspire 1 came out. We were able to take this drone that was created to make better, cinematography from the air, and we adapted it to be able to drop life jackets to a person in a water rescue, or as DJI and my department and myself started working together, we helped develop a thermal imaging camera that would go with that drone to help us even more on fire. So, DJI didn't start out with a view to industrial enterprise level products. It was us in public safety and other industries that pushed and begged them to create these products, and that's where we've seen us over time develop some amazing products that are doing everything from taking someone from having to go into a dangerous environment, or let's say power line inspection, and not only do they not have to climb up to inspect that power line, but they can inspect those power lines so much quicker, more efficiently, to even in our agricultural industry, where now we're seeing up to 10 to 15% increase in yields through our agricultural spraying drones. And then, to make it more relevant, when we look at the movie industry and just the amazing views, and actually that's kind of how I started out, not just as a fire chief, but I was doing water rescue standby, water safety standby for some reality TV shows. And I was watching a lot of the camera crew had some of those first DJI Phantoms, and they were just getting amazing shots. And watching them and talking to them is when I said, "This is what I need for my department." So you think of some of the ways it has changed. I think it was even Michael Bay that for the movie Ambulance hired a young kid, 19 years old, was able to get a start by being a first person view pilot, an FPV pilot. And in that movie, he got just amazing footage to be put into that flying a drone. So, it's always amazing to see what this technology is being able to do. I'm always excited to see where it keeps going.
From thermal imaging to FPV uses to agriculture. I mean, I used a Phantom one myself back in the day, so I was an early adopter. So is it fair to say that if so? First of all, this legislation has passed the House, as I understand it. It's now moved into the Senate. It's in committee. If this legislation fully passes, would that end the use of DJI products in agriculture, in thermal imaging, in film and television in its entirety in the United States?
It very well could threaten, all use of drones, all use of DJI drones in the United States. Um, you know, there's a lot of speculation and things we don't know. Does this mean that only new products would be brought into would not be allowed to be brought into the United States by DJI, or would it mean all current models that are approved now to be used would be taken off that approval list? So, a lot of concern out there. A lot of people have built businesses, their own small business out of the use of our drones, and to have that taken away would devastate countless businesses, from people that do aerial photography, from everything from real estate to surveying and mapping, to people that, again, the farmers that are, in a time when we have a severe problem with a changing climate affecting crop yields, growing population. We've seen these drones again bring up to 10 to 15% increase in crop yield, as well as I was just found out yesterday, we're seeing more people start to get engaged in farming because of this technology, younger people, which is great to see, because we've had a concern, about future farmers. So I really think that while, yes, DJI is a global company, the people, as you mentioned, that are going to be hurt by this are Americans, because the removal of this technology from America won't just damage, again, these small businesses I mentioned, but an entire industry that is developed around drones, and not just DJI drones, but because we are a focus of a lot of these third-party products, everything from parachute systems now to other camera systems that can go with our equipment, to software, as well as third-party providers, such as one recently I talked to that is a drone. They are a drone veteran drone provider. They take veterans and train them how to be FAA certified pilots, and they help them learn how to use the equipment, as well as getting that FAA certification. And to lose that business would be terrible. And again, it's Americans that will be hurt by this, sadly.
What about Americans who are current users? I know some of this is a little speculative, but is there a chance that current owners and users of your products, that their products could be, bricked, to use a tech parlance, may not work anymore, may not be able to connect to your satellite networks, may not receive future firmware updates, et cetera, et cetera?
On one side of that question is our part, DJI, and we would never willingly do anything like that. It would have to be force of law that we would fight for anything like that to happen. The concern, though, is that our products would be made illegal to be used in the United States, and that's not of our control. We have done things like our geofencing in an abundance of caution and safety, but that again was not something that we imposed to intentionally restrict on our customers. It was to, some people may not realize they're in an unsafe area or restricted airspace, and so we had those restrictions in place really to help, not hinder.
Now, moving on to try to understand a bit of the congressional perspective on this at all. I'm not asking you to speak for them really, but we can't pretend that products from DJI haven't been heavily modified, sometimes by foreign actors, sometimes by people that have ill intent. I mean, even in war zones, we're seeing footage from that. I know NBC reported that a DJI product might have been used in the first attempted assassination recently. Obviously you can't control how your users are using your products, but is there some level of risk here for having, no regulation? Should there be some regulation? Is there a happy medium here from the company perspective?
Well, first, as you mentioned, once at the point of sale, once we, hand that product off to a customer, we don't have control of how that product's used. Toyota is a great example of that. Unfortunately, I don't think they make their pickup trucks that they want to see them be used by anyone in a theater of war, right? So, I can tell you, we are committed to making products that make our world a better place, and we've shown that, as I mentioned, everything from agriculture to public safety. So we, as a culture at DJI, really don't want to see our technology, our products, be taken and used in any nefarious way, and it disheartens us to see it. But I do understand what you're asking about, and I understand the concerns out there. And I don't think that the proper answer is to remove a manufacturer from the market. That is, again, isolationism, protectionism, and just not it's not good American values. It's actually communistic to remove a manufacturer from the market just to make an American product more competitive, simply by removing that competition. So what I would say to address your question is, that's FAA regulations that need to be looked at, and other things. We're seeing it now. The FAA is doing a lot of hard work to catch up with the technology, and one of them is remote ID, and that was a big component to help be able to watch for nefarious actors who utilize drone technology by any manufacturer. Because again, we're not the only manufacturer, and we're not the only one that has large platform drones, and some of those are even open source technology, which is more exploitable. So I understand that concern, but I don't think the answer is removing a manufacturer from the market.
Well, from your perspective, what are the next steps here? Is there anything that filmmakers can do? Enterprise users of DJI products, can we lobby our local representative if that happens to be useful? And then I guess from the company perspective, what are you guys doing to hopefully fight this legislation becoming law?
Well, and that is a great question. I'm glad you asked that, because that's the key part to all of this. I want to say, going back, I do understand a lot of concerns by members of Congress. The broad-reaching concern is geopolitical issues that, as an American, as a Texan, I completely understand. I think, though, narrowing down to the way they have to, again, affect an entire industry is, again, not the right approach. And a lot of this has been, again, as we mentioned, misinformation. So the best way to combat that is education, and that's what we're finding more than anything. Is again, yes, not just reaching out to members of Congress and saying, "Hey, this is bad. You're going to put me out of work, or you're going to seriously stifle my industry." You can say that, but explaining, taking the time to show them this is why this technology is making my industry better, why I was able to build a business around it. And we would love to see competitive American products, but we don't have that available right now. And to remove again one manufacturer from the market before there is a replacement in place does an entire industry harm. So reaching out and educating on the impact, the use of the technology, why it's important is the biggest thing. Because I think, again, the members of Congress, I really trust are hearing one side, and of course it's very biased, very slanted from the lobbyists of other manufacturers and other parties that seek to, again, remove DJI, as well as other manufacturers. But I think what, again, that education, reaching out, and them hearing from those end users, from those in the entertainment and movie industry, about why this has become so important to an industry that's facing a lot of impacts right now, still recovering from COVID, dealing with changes in technology like streaming, and how it's become so competitive, and competitive in some respects, that advantages like drone technology have really helped some thrive. And so giving, again, that education out there. As far as what we're doing, we're doing the same thing. We're engaging in Congress with congressional elected officials and explaining to them, why all of these things that they have been told about us are simply not true. That we are trusted, and that we have shown to be trusted. And we're asking for a data security standard that we've asked for years, that we would probably be already complying with, as we do with many others. So we're doing that education, but also educating our end users that still don't realize that there is this attack on their business, their livelihood, again, by removing a product that they trust and rely on.
Yeah, just anecdotally, I've been surprised that not more people in our industry are talking about this. One of the reasons why I wanted to speak with you. So, without, could you give us sort of a current, as we're wrapping up here, a current state of the legislation? Now I mentioned it's in committee in the Senate. How big a risk do we still feel like this is? How far off do we feel like sort of a resolution is? I know it's tricky to tell, especially with Congress in general, but is there any sort of like current state updates you can give us?
I will say we are far from being out of the woods, as it were. We are seeing, in some respects, an increase in focus on our technology, to the point that there's misinformation now being spread about our agricultural spraying products that are doing nothing but help farmers, doing nothing but help our food supply chain. And now we're seeing just, quite frankly, ridiculous accusations about it. So, I would say we just saw Stefanik bring out the Countering CCP Drones Act, and just recently, just a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago, on a Monday, was brought forth and passed by a Republican majority House of Representatives, who had what they called a China week. And if that doesn't concern anyone, that we would have a week just to focus on technology and products and other things from one country. That's very, as an American, again, that's concerning to me that we are that, you know, adversarial at this point. And so that we're waiting to see where that goes now to the Senate. Again, a lot of the misunderstanding of what's going on too by customers is that whenever one of these bills passes, which, you know, this same bill was introduced into the House of Representatives National Defense Authorization Act. And each time it passes, there are people that fear, oh no, DJI has been banned. And that's not the case. It is just passed one body of Congress, which one of the great things about our country is we have the checks and balances system. So now it does face the senators who, you know, are more engaging and are more understanding with consumers, customers of why these technology is important to them. So we're focused on engaging there, both as DJI, as we mentioned a minute ago, but also encouraging users of our technology to engage in the Senate as well. Unfortunately, this is not something that's going away overnight. So we need to keep focused and definitely keep our voices out there to be heard.
You mentioned Stefanik. I should say Elise Stefanik is the main sponsor of this bill, Republican. Chief Wayne Baker, we're about out of time here. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes here, walking us through this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time, and hopefully, you know, we can talk in the future about much more happier topics.
Okay, there you have it. I know the CineD audience is all over the world, but our community is certainly watching this story out of the United States, and we're going to stay on it. Want to see more videos like this? Don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more.